everyone, welcome back to another video, and if you're new here, hello, my name is Choua, and on my channel I do updates about my lifestyle, food, health, and beauty. And today I'm going to be talking about the makeup routine that I did basically the entire time I was in Chicago. My partner and I, we went down to Chicago with our little corgi, and we did a small family trip to celebrate our 10th year anniversary of being together. It was just about a week-long trip. It was very relaxing. We did the most we can, but also like spent time with each other and be able to make room to just walk around and roam around with our little corgi Ira. This is the look that I basically did the entire trip, and so I am just going to talk about all of the makeup and like the makeup tools that I packed and go through how I did my makeup and also the stuff that I didn't use even though I packed. So I have my full bag of makeup here. I also have a little what is this called, like little bag for my purse where I keep all my lip items. So this, I also packed my lip items in here. And then this is a Morphe and Jaclyn Hill collab where they did like brushes and stuff, and so I bought the pack or whatever with the makeup brushes sort of deal. And so I put all of my makeup tools in here, and the only thing that didn't fit in anything really is my setting spray and of course my little Ilios mirror, and then my, I don't know why I'm still holding this. Let me just put that down real quick. And then my AOA stainless steel mixing palette. And this bag, I put a lot of my stuff in here. Like I put my makeup brush cleaner. This is the one that I bought from TJ Maxx, and it fits in here perfectly. I also brought my little makeup sponge that I purchased from Miss A, Shop Miss A, and then the little, what is this, travel thingy where you can put your sponge in here and then you can travel with it so it's not rolling around in makeup and whatnot. And then some other tools that I put in there is my eyelash curler and my little puff. Everything else are my brushes, and so I really had to decide what else I needed and put it in there. Oh, I also brought a little sharpener just in case I need to sharpen my liners, whether it's lip liners or eyeliners. That was basically kind of all I packed because I was sharing a suitcase with my partner, and so I needed to kind of really be mindful of all the stuff that I was going to pack. So let's get into the video of how I did my makeup. Before I do my makeup, I do my skincare, and it's usually you know, like a serum, eye cream, and like a sunscreen. And then I will go in with my professional pore primer, and I would just put this all over my T-zone, usually in the forehead, and then on the cheeks where my pores are a little bit more visible, and then also on my chin as well, just to smooth it out. The next, after my primer is on, I would go in with my AOA concealer stick in light ivory, and I would just dot this on blemishes that are a little red, and I would just dab it on and let it sit for a little bit for it to dry out so that way I can get some coverage. So when I do my spot concealer, I would go in with my Arches and Halos duo brow powder, and I went in with the lighter color to fill in my brows. And there are days where I would fill it up a little bit more. There are days where I will make it a little bit lighter, but usually this is how I liked my brows because it just looks natural, I would say. It looks a little bit more natural, less drawn in my opinion. And I would just go in and use my, I think this is the Anastasia brow. The writing came off, but this is the only brow thing I brought with me. And so I would use the spoolie to obviously brush up my hairs, and use the angled brush to fill in my brows. Now that I have my brows on, I would set my brows with my Dominique Brow Blow Shaping Gel. This is the only brow gel that I'm really using right now. I feel like it's starting to dry out, like it's not really collecting a whole lot of product anymore whenever I dip it in. I don't know, maybe it's just me. While I waited for my brows to dry a little bit, I would go in with this Wing Me brush. This Wing Me brush right here. It's really nice for concealer, and I will go and just blend out my spot concealing areas a little bit with this brush. Very nice for that. I really like this. So this was the only really concealer brush I brought with me because I knew my sponge can handle everything else. Not my brush, my sponge can handle everything else. So I brought this my goodness, I brought this tool to just really blend out the spot concealing, and I really liked it for that. And then once I spotted correct everything that I wanted, I would go in with one of the two complexion products that I brought with me. I didn't mix it together. That's just because I was feeling lazy on the trip. So I used my ColourPop Pretty Fresh Tinted Foundation Balm in Light 8 the first half of the trip. And this one I am wearing on my right side, which is your left. I just kind of like put this on the face all over, and then I will go in with this brush by Camera A Unique Beauty in Ester, and I would use this to kind of press the product into my skin and then kind of softly buff it out, and that gave me a good kind of light coverage that I was looking for. And the areas that I wanted a little bit more coverage, I would just go back and swipe a little bit more on the cheeks or whatever, and I will go in with my brush again and blend that out to give it a little bit more coverage. So that's what I did with this foundation balm, and I really liked it for that because it was very convenient. I didn't need to get my hands dirty or anything like that. And then the second half of the trip, I wanted to use this because I packed it, so I really wanted to try it out in the Chicago heat and see how it held up, and it held up really well. This is the Wet n Wild Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator. This one is in light medium, and what I did was I just squeezed some on the back of my hand, and I will go in and kind of spread it around first by like kind of like dabbing it onto the face, and then I would buff it into the skin. And then of course, if I wanted a little bit more coverage, I would do the same thing where I would put a little bit more in the areas that I want a little bit more coverage. So this was a really nice brush. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see. It's kind of angled. It's also very dense, and so it was a really nice brush to just go in and really pack in the complexion product, because this is not full coverage. This is sheer to medium, and so I really liked that with the brush. It kind of built the coverage a little bit for me. When I was done with my tinted hydrator or like foundation balm, then I will go in with my Colfi concealer in Ice Berry, and I would put this right under the eyes, just a little bit in the inner corner right here, and then I would put some towards the outer parts of the eyes. And then of course my T-zone, how I would usually do my concealer. And then there are some days if I want a little bit more coverage, like a little bit more of a fuller face, I would go in with the Wing Me concealer brush that I use for the spot concealing, and I will go and blend that out and also put the concealer on my eyelids to prime my eyelids. I would go in with my AOA sponge, and I would go and just blend all of that out to really pick up any excess concealer to make sure it's not looking too heavy. And then I will go all over the face to really just blend out my complexion products before I go in with any creams or liquids afterwards. And so that was a really nice way to do my my complexion step of my makeup routine, just because our hotel room was really small and our bathroom was really small. So I did my makeup on the bed, and I used my Elios mirror with the light to do my makeup, because this is kind of like a vanity light. So it helped me be able to see what is heavy and what needed some more blending and whatnot, because the lighting in our hotel was not the greatest either. And so I was really glad that I brought this with me, because the light in here really helped me create my look without feeling like I have to stand in front of the bathroom mirror the entire time, because it was really small and I was sharing it with my partner, and you know, it's like a really small bathroom, and I didn't want to hog up the bathroom just to do my makeup. Okay, so I packed my Essence Baby Got Bronze liquid bronzer. This is in the shade Sun-Kissed Sweetie, and I honestly really liked this a lot. I'm so glad I packed this with me for this trip, because it was very lightweight, it blended gorgeously, and it just gave me the perfect amount of bronze on the face, where it really gave me depth and dimension on the face, but it didn't make me look muddy. And I can go as heavy-handed as I wanted to, or as light-handed as I wanted to with the blend, and it just went on gorgeously. Next, I would go light-handedly, or at least try to, with my half-caked lip fondant in Theme Song. This is a really nice color. I only brought this as my liquid blush, and I would just dab a little bit right by the tops of my cheekbones, and then I would blend it out with the Wing Me brush here. This is a really nice, I don't know if this focus is gonna do anything, but it's kind of angled and it's fluffed out a little bit. So it was really good to just really blend the blush out with this brush. Really nice. It's also kind of flat too, so it was really nice to really disperse the liquid blush and blend it out. The only liquid highlighter that I brought with me as well is my Grand Glow Plumping Highlighter. I depotted into a little small container like this, because the original container, I just couldn't get any more products out, so I depotted it, and then I brought this with me, which is good that I depotted it because it took up less space. I just usually dab the highlight onto my cheekbones, and something new that I was trying out is using the same brush that I use for my blush, and kind of blend out the highlight and kind of mesh it together with my blush, and that seemed to work okay on the trip, which made it look a little bit more natural, which I love. And then of course I put some highlight on the highest points of my face to really glow. All right, next, after all of my creams and liquids, I would set the face, and the only powder that I brought with me is my NARS Translucent Light Reflecting Setting Powder in Crystal. I basically took this powder and I used my puff. I basically went into the compact and I just really went in and pressed down and grabbed as much powder as I could, and then I would just set my under eye and on my eyelids with it. And then once I was done setting my T-zone with my puff, I would go in with my fluffy brush. This is by Moda, M-O-D-A. There's no brush name on this, but this is my favorite powder brush right now, and I will go and swirl it into the compact, and I would just start with my jaw, and I would start with dabbing motions, and then I would go and do some sweeping motions. And if there are parts of my T-zone that I want a little bit more powder, I will go and brush it on my inner T-zone and everything too. I was able to give it a lot of love. This is a part of my project pan, so I wanted to really devote some time to just focus on this so that way I can get out my collections. And it was very small, like a small compact as well, and so it fit in my makeup bag. Once I was done setting the face, I will go in with my Wonder Beauty Trip for Two duo with the blush and bronzer. This is also in my project pan. I only brought this as my bronzer and blush, and so I used the powder bronzer to really bring more dimension and depth into my face. I used this brush by Me. M-E, that's the brand. This is just a small kind of fluffy brush. This is really nice to just go into the pan and really swirl it and tap, and then I would go and dab it on where my liquid bronzer was, and then I would go and blend that out and up to the ears and sort of the temples a little bit so that it's not like super streaky. And then I also did my forehead, and then I did my jaw as well. And I also brought it down a little bit onto the neck so that way I look a little bit more bronzed. I use the same bronzer to bronze up the nose. I used this angled brush. This is supposed to be like an eyeshadow brush, but I use this to bronze my nose. This is by Elizabeth Arden. I got this as a gift like years ago, like over a decade ago, and I'm still using it. I don't really use it as an eyeshadow brush anymore. I just use it as my go-to nose bronzer or like bronzer or whatever kind of tool. So I really like that for it. And then I will go in with my powder blush and do the same thing where I would take my Jaclyn Hill X Morphe or Morphe X Jaclyn Hill JH04 brush. This is the blush brush in that collection, and I would just go and swirl, tap, and do the same thing where I start on my temples and sort of by my hairline a little bit, and then I will go and blend it out on the apples of my cheeks. And then I would take the rest and put it on my nose where I also put the liquid blush on. And I would just put a little bit on the chin just to bring a little bit of life back to the face. The only highlighter that I brought with me is my Touch and Soul Pretty Filter Glow Makeup palette, and this one I brought with me because there's 5 shades, so I can use this as like a blush topper. I can use these highlighters as shimmers on the eyes if I wanted to, and they're just very versatile highlighters that I thought it would be best to bring this instead of just a singular highlighter, which was, I thought it was really smart of me because I went in with the lightest shade the most to kind of highlight my cheekbones, my nose, my cupid's bow and everything. And there are times where I want a little bit more oomph to the blush, so I will go in with like the more pinker looking highlights and put that on. And then when I do want a bronzy glow, I will go in with the brown and just put it right where my bronzer on my forehead was and everything. This was a very good choice. I used the Morphe X Jaclyn JH07 brush. This one is a highlighting brush, I think, or a powder brush. I don't remember, but this is how it looks like. I forgot to show you the Jaclyn Hill brush, but it's angled and it is really fluffy, so I really like that. And then this one, I wanted to bring this because I can really concentrate the highlight to make it very intense, or I can swirl it in my highlight, really tap it out, and just light-handedly go all over the cheeks if I wanted to, all over the nose and cupid's bow. Once I was done with my face, I would go and then do my eyes. I used this Morphe brush to set the eyelids if I didn't set the eyelids well enough when I went to powder my face. So this is the brush that I use to go in with my NARS powder, and I go and set the lid a little bit more if it's not set well enough. And then I will go in with my tapered tapered blending brush by Bean Gotchi. I don't know how to pronounce the name, I'm sorry. But these brushes I got from my BoxyCharm. And I would go in and just use this brush to really blend in the transition color. Really like this brush for it. And I brought my Phase Zero eyeshadow palette. I said before that I don't know how I feel about this palette because it's kind of boring. But for some reason, I'm falling back in love with this palette. I don't know why. But I think I found a reason to really enjoy this palette again, if that makes sense. The last time I updated my project pan, I said I was going to franken the top 2 matte shades, and I did that. I'm not gonna show you the palette because that is just gonna spoil the progress for y'all. So this is how it looks like with both the top shades franken together. And so that's what I used as my transition shade. And I put that all over the eyes, but I started on the outer parts of my eyes first to really build that in. And then I would go right in the inner corner of the eye and blend that into the middle as well to really build that kind of like a halo effect. But not really. But I would use this as my transition. And so that's kind of what I have on the eyes right now. And once I was done with that, I would go in with my e.l.f. crease brush. Love this thing. And I would pack on the warmer brown on the outer corner and just really take my time and blend that out to give it some dimension. And I would bring it towards the middle of the eyelid a little bit just so it can give it some depth. And then I would keep going and take turns with blending out the transition color, adding in more of the dark brown, and kept going until it looked right to me. And then I brought this Wonder Beauty Double Date Eyeshadow Duo. This is also in my project pan, but I would use the cream part of this and I would just dab it, like using my finger, and I would just dab it all over the lid, but try to avoid that dark brown area on the outer corner and just really pack it in and blend it in so it looks cohesive. And then I would go in with my Phase Zero again, and I would use the brown shimmer in the bottom left corner, and I would use a kind of like a packing brush. This is the Pigment Packer by MLTD, and I would go in and just grab this, tap, grab, tap, grab, tap, you know, to just really collect the pigment on the brush. And then I would go and just really set the cream with that shimmer shadow, and just really blend that out. And when I got too close to the outer brown, I will go in with my e.l.f. crease, go in with that dark brown again, and really blend it out one more time. And that's kind of what I did to really build that up. And then lastly, I went in with the Wonder Beauty Duo. I went in with this shimmer, and then I would go in. Sometimes I would go on my fingers, but for the most part, I would go in with a brush, the same packing brush, go in, tap, go in, tap, and then I would just brush this all over that shimmer area just to give it a little bit more life and kind of just brighten up that brown shimmer a little bit more. And that's kind of how I created that look on top. Now for the lower lash line, I would go in with my Appeal Gel Liner, and I would put that right on the waterline. I kind of do like 3/4 of it. I leave the inner corner blank so I can have more like a highlighty effect in the inner corners. And then I will go in with a small blending brush. This is a detailed blending brush. I don't remember the brand. Is it LaRouche? L-A-R-U-C-E? I don't know. But this is a small blending brush. I love this thing. I would take the cooler dark brown and I would go and really blend and set that gel liner first to darken it, And once that was done, I would go in with a little bit of the warmer brown in the phase 0. And I would also go and just make sure that it's all blended and looking good. And then to really set everything together or like blend everything together, I would go in with a transition shade and I would just lightly blend the bottom parts of it out so it doesn't look too harsh. Afterwards, I would go with this thin brush. It was a part of a really cheap brush set that I bought on Amazon like 15 years ago. And I use this as my inner corner. So I will go in with the yellow pigment or shimmer in here. And I would really put it on the brush, tap it out, and I would really just put it right on the inner corner. Like so. It's not strikingly bright, but that's what I really liked about this, is that it gave my inner corners life, but it's not like beaming, which I do prefer, but I didn't mind to have this as the only bright shimmer that I had. I could use my Wonder Beauty shimmer, but I didn't really want to. I wanted to use as much of this palette as much as possible. So that's what I did. And I actually really like this look. Yeah. So these were the brushes that I used. Did I mention I used the Luxie 512 small contouring brush for my liquid bronzer? I'm all over the place because, you know, we came back and I just wanted to rest and get everything unpacked and everything. So I'm doing a lot of content creation today so that way I can just edit a lot of the stuff. But anyways, once I was done with that, I would go in and of course curl my lashes with this lash curler by Pier. Got this in one of my BoxyCharms and I have loved this lash curler ever since. I would just go in and just really curl at the root first, and then I would curl my lashes in like small sections and bring it up. And then I would go in with my Karinko Mascara Skinny Mascara in black. This is such a beautiful mascara. It really separates my lashes. I don't know if you can tell. And it gives it a natural volume and length because I did not pack any false lashes with me. So I only used this and I just really kind of brushed it through my lashes. The only thing about this is that when I brush it onto my lashes, I guess it makes my lashes a little long, so it does transfer on my eyelid when it's wet. So I have to go back into my eyeshadows and really kind of pack the pigment back on to kind of remove the mascara on the eyelid, but it is what it is. I'm kind of used to that by now. And then once I was done with my mascara and everything, I would go in with my lip products. This is how I would do my lips. I would go in with my Essence Water Tint Lip and Cheek in Kiss from a Rose first. I would really put that all over my lips. That is because throughout the day I'm drinking, I'm eating, and I want to still have some color on my lips. Then I will go in with my lip pencil by Mellow in Rose, and I will line my lips with this to really build a color onto my lips and really define the lips in that way. So that's what I did with my Mellow lip liner. And then I will go in with my Bodyography lip liner, or lip pencil is what it says on the packaging, in Timber. And I would kind of contour a little bit, where I would mainly fill this in on the lower lip line to really make my lips more defined but also a little bit fuller. I also put this on the top of my lip line as well, but I don't really fill it in. I usually do my lower lips with this liner, and it's just to give it a little bit of more fullness and make my lips look a little bit more even. Then next, I will go in with my Contact Skin lipstick in shade 116, Tears Are Falling. Love this lipstick. This is probably my favorite lipstick in my entire lip collection. And I will go in and just put that all over the lips, and it just really brings the entire lip look to life, where it is natural enough where it's like pink enough, but also nude enough for it to go with my eye look and my outfit for the day. I packed this pink lip gloss in a glow. And for this one, I didn't really put this all over the lips because I didn't want it to get everywhere. So I just dabbed a little bit on the center of the lips, and whatever was left on the wand, I will go and put it all over the top of my lips and just kind of really blend it in together so that my lips stay hydrated but not super goopy, because that is something that I don't like, especially since I already had the context lipstick on and that one is already hydrating enough. And then lastly, of course, I would set my face with my Milani Make It Last Original Natural Finish Setting Spray. This is the big bottle, and so that's why it didn't fit in my makeup bag. Usually if I just bought the small one, it would. That was kind of like how I did my makeup the entire trip. There were some times where I would, you know, change it up a little bit, where I would do less liner on the under eyes and just a little bit in the outer corner, or I would put like the pink shimmer in my Phase Zero instead of the brown shimmer and whatnot. But for the most part, this is how I did my makeup in Chicago. Now I'm gonna go through some of the things that I packed with me but I didn't really use. I am a chronic overpacker, and I've been doing that a lot ever since I started to travel a lot more. So I've been trying to be more mindful when it comes to trips and pack only what I need, and not overpack for the what if situations that may never occur. So these are the things that I packed and I did not use. This is my stainless steel mixing palette by Shop Miss A. I packed this with me because I have been using this palette a lot to really mix my foundations on it and use my sponge to like dab into it and then put it on my face. But I did not go in this at all. Like, I didn't open this up at all. It was just sitting in my luggage. So another thing that I packed that I did not use is my KVD tattoo liner. This is a waterproof liquid eyeliner. This is my go-to liner. I packed this just in case I didn't want to do a brown liner, and I know this is going to hold up in a very hot and humid climate, so I packed this just in case I needed a wing liner on the trip. And I did not use this at all because I didn't do a wing liner at all on the trip. This is all I did. Another thing that I packed that I did not use is my Milani Make It Last sunscreen setting spray. This is SPF 30. I packed this because I knew I was gonna be outside a lot and I wanted the extra protection, but I did not pack this into my purse or anything, and I was already putting sunscreen on. We were not outside for a long time, and when we were outside, we were wearing hats, or we were in the downtown areas where there wasn't a whole lot of sun. So I didn't use this at all. I packed it just in case, but I did not use it. Next is my Makeup Revolution Forever Flawless Allure palette. This is my Project Level Up palette, and I brought it with me in case I wanted a little bit more color to play with, especially on days that was a little bit more of like a special occasion. So I brought it with me in case I wanted to have a little bit more of a bigger palette to play with, but I did not use this once at all. And so the update for my Project Level Up is probably not going to go up until probably September or whatnot, because I have just not been reaching for this palette. The other things that I didn't really use are some brushes. This is my Alamar Cosmetics Brightening Brush. I didn't really use this brush. It's a really nice like under eye brush. I didn't really use this really. I think I used it one time, but that was because I was too lazy to dig up my actual powder brush for when I needed to kind of swipe away some fallout. So I used this for that, but that was it. And then I packed a angled liner. This is the one by Morphe. This is an angled brush that I use for liner, and I packed this just in case I wanted a wing. And again, I didn't do a wing liner at all on the trip, so I did not use that at all. Everything else I basically used. I used this sharpener to sharpen my lip liners. I was reapplying my lip products after like every meal, so that's kind of what I used it for. Those are the only things that I did not use, which I'm really proud of myself for being able to use most of the things that I packed, because that was probably the hardest thing for me to really predict of what I was going to use versus what I may not use. Anyways, that was how I did my makeup while I was traveling. If you like this kind of video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below on what you would like to see next, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!